Occasionally this topic flares up, and in reading today's news, it once again has flared up. What I'm referring to is the prosperity gospel. One of the more uniquely American concepts of the fundamentalist movement and the evangelical movement is this prosperity gospel that God wants us to be rich. You know, the idea being that if we're rich, we can then share our wealth to the less fortunate. Well, to me, there's not that big of a jump from God wants us to be rich to God only wants the rich. We're surrounded by people that are not as well off as we are. And regardless of the philanthropic notion of helping the poor, if the rich have a monopoly on God's love, as the prosperity gospel would almost imply, then why would we even bother? But that flies in the face of several things. Isn't there this notion of the Great Commission, of sharing the gospel to the masses? Why bother if only the rich are saved? I mean, that's what the prosperity gospel would ultimately lead to. And what about Jesus' own comment about the poor will be with you always? It would seem as though that even if the rich were to give up their wealth, they would still be poor. No, I think the prosperity gospel is just off beam whatsoever. In fact, I find it's being damaging. Consider, a lot of the movers and shakers in terms of social issues and so forth like that, within the conservative side, have a tendency to be a little bit more well-to-do. A lot of them are adherents to the prosperity gospel. If you hear a lot of these mega churches and preaching about the morality of our society, how many of them follow this prosperity gospel? With all that money lying in the pockets of politicians, I'm not so certain that the direction of our country is best served by it. No, it's being served by the rich for the rich at the expense of the poor. And even if they try to coach it into the notion of, well, God is behind us, I don't believe that. Because shouldn't God be behind all of us and not just the rich? No, prosperity gospel is just simply a way to divide the haves and the have-nots. We have the money, we have the power, and we have God. Those of you who are poor, you have nothing, you have no power, and God hates you. No, that may not be what the prosperity gospel adherents are saying, but it's not that far from what they're leading up to.